Está no ar o FuiCast, o maior podcast de transplante capilar do Brasil. Estamos aqui diretamente do World Fui com mais uma convidada sensacional, que a gente já acompanha a carreira dela há muito tempo. E agora temos a honra de ter a doutora Sara aqui com a gente. Seja muito bem-vinda.
Obrigada.
Doutora Sara, conta um pouco para o pessoal que está em casa do Brasil. A gente tem um público aqui no FuiCast que são médicos ou pessoas que gostam de transplante capilar ou querem começar ou já atuam. Conta um pouco da sua trajetória, onde você atua, para que eles te conheçam.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I love Brazil. I'm been here 6-7 times, and I love your country. And I'm here as an invitation from this very prestigious World FUE Institute Congress. And I'm a dermatologist, Dr. Sarah Salas from Mexico. And I started my practice 15 years ago, starting in Israel. And then Canada.
Israel?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
In Israel with Dr. Ginsberg.
Oh, nice.
And then Dr. Wong in Canada, Dr. Shapiro in Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
Jerry Wong.
And Dr.
Very
Marcelo
good start.
Pichon from Belo
Marcelo
Horizonte.
Pichon.
Oh,
Minas
nice.
Gerais.
Start.
Yes, yes. And Dr. Roberto Civilini from Paraguay. And I think that all the knowledge that I get from them, it's and not less than an inspiration to do the things in the right way and to find as many patients that we can transform their lives, because
very
hair
nice.
restoration definitely is something that we transform their lives.
It's all about propose. So for us, you have a very good curriculum. So you learn with the best. So eu vou falar em português, né? Ok, tá. Vamos lá. Doutora Sara, conta um pouco pra gente. Você vai dar 2 palestras, na verdade você já deu as palestras aqui no congresso, que é exatamente sobre isso, sobre fazer o melhor para o seu paciente. E é algo que a gente também sempre fala, não é só um procedimento. O que a gente está fazendo é transformar um sonho em realidade. Isso tem que ser tratado dessa forma. Conta um pouco pra gente como que você faz essa abordagem e a importância disso hoje em dia no seu serviço e na sua forma de conduzir seus casos.
Well, first of all, the most important thing is to receive the right training. Nowadays, there are a lot of non-doctors who think that just by looking at a video or something, they can perform a very serious surgery. And now, for example, my practice, I only do FUE. And FUE is the newest technique. And I think that it's very important not to leave any scars in the head of the patients. So as much as we can do all these updates and to use the smaller punches in the market, smaller incisions, and to know which areas you can use and where are our limits, I think that the success is guaranteed.
Perfect.
In the transformation of the patient, we need to evaluate which specific case, what are the expectations of the patient, what is the donor area, the caliber of the hair, where are the areas that probably in the future the patient is not going to have, in order to plan accordingly for the longer time. Hair restoration needed to be something that is permanent, something that is going to last forever. And this, yes, you said it very, very correctly. This hair restoration field is where dreams come true if it's planned accordingly. We're going to have one of my talks is about complications, and that is when the dream becomes a nightmare. So how to avoid that? It's always based on having a personalized evaluation in each patient, because each patient, here we are 4 heads. And the 4 of us, we have different density, different color, different things of seeing things. So it is very important to do FUE first, okay? And because we guarantee that we don't leave marks in the scalp of the patients. And second, to design what is going to be the best for the face of the patient. And then once we plan for short, medium, and long term, then we establish medical treatment plus the surgical approach, which is going to be the success of this is at the end the patient is going to transform completely their self-esteem, their image, their confidence, they gain back their power, and to walk with their face not down but up in front of an audience or a business meeting or family or even dating.
Yes.
There are a
Very
lot of
important.
people that they
They
don't
start to
date.
date. Yeah, they
right?
don't date.
Para vocês terem uma ideia, só trazendo uma história, um paciente me procurou recentemente e ele falou que, doutor, não estava me incomodando tanto a minha calvície até o dia que eu saí com uma menina que eu tinha acabado de conhecer e eu estava usando Topic. E eu resolvi ir para casa dela. Na hora que eu deitei no sofá branco e ela começou a fazer carinho na minha cabeça, depois ela levantou, olhou para a mão e para o sofá e falou: "O que é isso?" Aí ele falou assim, naquele momento eu falei, eu preciso de alguém que faça um transplante capilar, porque eu nunca mais quero passar por isso na minha vida. Então ele tomou a decisão, quando ele se sentiu envergonhado, de estar usando um produto que até então para ele era uma vaidade, mas algo que não importava tanto. E então ele falou assim, olha, eu estou te procurando porque eu sei que você vai ser sincero e me mostrar, eu vejo nas suas redes sociais, que você fala bastante de tratamento clínico, e também de transplante capilar. Vejo alguns casos que você, inclusive, contraindica o transplante. Eu acho que é por aí que eu busco. Não sei se a cirurgia seria o melhor caminho para o meu caso. Então, eu acho legal a forma como a gente consegue se posicionar hoje no mercado. E, recentemente, eu estava conversando com o Paulo sobre isso. Teve um paciente que procurou e falou assim, mas eu vi que o seu serviço está com um valor muito acima de uma franquia que eu estava querendo fazer. Aí a equipe minha falou assim, olha, não é por valor. Você já deu uma olhada no Reclame Aqui? Isso é um site daqui do Brasil que ele mostra as reclamações de quem já foi no lugar. E essa franquia que ele estava mencionando, ela tem um recorde, talvez mundial, de uma reclamação a cada 10 minutos de pessoas sequeladas pelo transplante capilar. Então, assim, a gente fala, o sonho pode se tornar um pesadelo, né?
E, doutora, faz parte da tua rotina receber casos para fazer uma cirurgia corretiva de casos que já fizeram uma cirurgia que foi um pesadelo? Faz parte da tua rotina?
Wow, you two touch two very important subjects because unfortunately, because I'm in the border, I'm in Tijuana, Mexico, which is in the border with San Diego. I receive, unfortunately, a lot of complications because patients are so desperate. And because desperation, they don't do their homework. And by not doing their homework, they don't check which credential that this is a surgeon. Is the surgeon the one who is going to perform the surgery? And this is something that is very important, that this surgeon, even if you do I do all the time FaceTime evaluation to patients from Canada, from the United States, from all Mexico. So it is very important that the doctor that is going to do the procedure is going to be the one doing the evaluation. The franchises, as you described, you never know whose doctor is going to be on call that day, and that is something that is a huge mistake. Even
Sometimes there's no doctor in franchise.
Exactly.
Yes.
I receive a lot of patients that they flew overseas, and then they found out that they were not a doctor. It was a random person, very young, whatever, like that he never saw in the evaluation or anything. But the patient is there and I said, why did you stay? I was like, and they said, well, I got confused. I didn't know. I was guessing that probably the photos they sent me were true, which a lot of time they're photos from other doctors.
Yes.
A lot of time they use photos from other practices and they're not theirs. So these patients, they're in scare and then they're starting to have all these complications. Now they fly back. And what's happening? Nobody with a serious practice, they want to be involved in that because there's legal things. The patient that already have a complication will never look the same again. Never. No matter how good we are,
Yeah.
I mean, we can make a lot of improvement, but it depends on the donor area. I remember a patient that was so desperate that he said, "Do something for me." The line was very low, straight, but I look at the donor, it was poor. The beer was depleted,
Oh.
no chest, no back. So it was like something that what you can do with those patients. If the patient has a very good donor, of course, we can do
Take the
SMP
grafts off and put it back.
exactly,
In
or
this
do some kind of a harvesting
Yeah.
and combine it with SMP scalp
Mhm.
macropigmentation
Yeah.
in order to give them
You do
Oh,
a
not
proposital harvesting.
exactly not
Yeah.
only the camouflage of
Yeah.
the scars,
Uh-huh.
but also to recreate the frontal hairline in order to look more natural, right?
Okay.
So that subject is very important, and unfortunately, yes, actually, one of my talks here it's about complication, how to prevent it, how to fix a lot of them, and this is something that we can prevent if the patient. But everything started with the patient.
Yes.
The patient needed to do their homework. The patient needed to do their research. This is their life. This is their scalp, and we have a certain donor area. It's not unlimited, it's limited. And we need to use it with a lot of integrity, with a lot of ethical, and a lot of honesty with the patient, what we can do and what is not achievable.
Perfeito. Eu tenho, só complementando, depois eu deixo você perguntar
Imagina.
para ela. Não existe, eu não, pelo menos nunca vi ninguém abordar dessa forma, igual agora no último bloco sobre área doadora, falaram lá, fizeram um questionário, qual que é o limite, quanto você acha que é o limite? A médica que estava do meu lado, ela falou assim, e aí, o que você vota? Aí eu falei assim, depende. Quem extraiu a cirurgia desse paciente primeiro é um paciente de recuperação? Porque eu pego na minha prática muito paciente com a área doadora que era muito boa, mas foi utilizado material errado, foi feito muita fistulização, foi depletada, sendo que não tiraram muito folículo e o paciente teve um resultado ruim. Então, uma má primeira extração, uma má segunda extração, ela pode comprometer a área doadora que tem boa densidade. Você concorda com isso? E eu não vejo muito falando sobre isso. Então depende muito do padrão de extração, que material foi utilizado. E é o que a gente está pegando na prática.
Yes, I think that this is something that we can have as the beginning. We need to do a personalized evaluation. What is the donor? There are people like I'm looking at there. Of course, I do hair, so
Yes.
I always look. Okay, good.
My
donor,
hair is
good donor,
growing.
good donor, and I always
We see
evaluate it,
that,
right?
Yes.
Like the
So if the patient has a good donor, actually I like when the patient is not removing a lot of grafts because I have more donor area to work and to fix it, right?
Yes.
The problem becomes when they did, unfortunately, remove a lot of hair, but with leaving behind a lot of scars. And sometimes we have videos now in this conference when they have a lot of transection. So they did remove it, but it was wrongly placed. Now the transection. So that hair is not going to grow.
Yes.
And now it's not growing here and it's not growing in the front. So what we can do, we first need to fix the scars.
Perfect.
We first need to camouflage that because it's terrible to look somebody from behind and then a lot of lines or dots in the patient thin areas. So we need to do something for these patients. And what we do is to do SMP. And SMP, it's amazing. It's an amazing technique. We can camouflage close to 100% of the donor. And in the recipient area, okay, let's see. You mentioned it earlier that sometimes we need to remove big plugs for the first rows and then to recreate a frontal hairline that is going to look 100% natural. And fortunately, to create the frontal hairline, we don't need a lot of grafts. So at least we can give them some frame for the face that is going to look not weird or not like a doll's hair. At least we can frame their face nicely.
It's easier for a dermatologist to do a hairline with technique that you bring from dermatology right?
Exactly, exactly. Being a dermatologist also allow me not only, I learned from one of the best, Dr. Shapiro, to recreate the frontal hairline that is
Shapiro,
going to be
yes.
100% with a
Yeah.
natural look.
Very young.
Exactly. But another thing is, as a dermatologist, I give them also the medical treatment. And that is key in the long term. Because everybody can show a 1 year follow up with a good result. But what is going to happen at 2, or 4, at 10, at 15? So that is very important. Hair restoration, yes, can be something that is going to be permanent, but we need to plan for the long term and bring the patient the idea and to marry that idea that we need to do medical treatment plus the surgical approach, no matter how
Perfect.
younger you are, forever.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And nowadays there are options, not only hormonal things. There are other options, not hormonal, that the patient can take. And if he's afraid of side effects, now the doses that we use, even with the hormonal treatment, the doses are so small. But the bad thing is where they've been treated only with the surgery, not knowing that they need a medical treatment. So that hair transplant is not going to be permanent.
Dr. Tony Houston always says, I don't do hair transplant surgery in a patient who doesn't take
Finasteride.
Mhm.
That's the-
O que a gente fala, o que a gente sempre fala é que o desejo para o paciente que ele trate é que ele vai obter por mais tempo aquele resultado que ele obteve ao final do primeiro ano do transplante capilar. No final do primeiro ano, a gente tem o crescimento praticamente máximo da cirurgia e a gente tem praticamente o teto de resposta ao tratamento clínico também. Então, quando a gente trata clinicamente e a gente entrega uma boa cirurgia, ao final do primeiro ano a gente tem o melhor dos mundos. E o desejo de manutenção do tratamento clínico é que perdure por longos anos o resultado daquele primeiro ano de follow-up, aquele primeiro ano de segmento do paciente. Mas o que eu queria falar, outros 2 pontos que você debateu. O primeiro é que, inteligentemente, né, no caso de uma nova abordagem cirúrgica, eles já removeram, mais uma vez, inteligentemente, os folículos de 3, 4, 5, e sobra para a gente ali fazer um trabalho quase que milagroso com folículos de 1, 2 e raríssimos folículos de 3. Então, eu costumo dizer que uma cirurgia ruim, um resultado ruim proveniente de uma cirurgia, às vezes é muito pior do que a calvície. Porque a calvície seria um desfecho natural, que todo homem, boa parte dos homens, todo é uma palavra muito forte, mas crescentemente, ao decorrer dos anos, os homens vão passar pelo processo de calvície. Agora, pelo processo de uma cirurgia mal realizada, com ângulos anômalos, com cabelos que estão em locais que não eram para estar, aí isso não é natural. Isso não é normal e atrai olhares mais depreciativos sobre aquela pessoa e pode causar um impacto muito grande. Sobre isso, o que é que eu queria perguntar para você? Aqui no Brasil, eu não quero falar de um número exato, eu estaria sendo leviano, enganoso, mas a gente tem um alto índice de serviços que são praticados por profissionais que não são médicos. Jamais poderia também falar 100%, mas uma porcentagem muito alta das franquias, as cirurgias são realizadas por profissionais que não são médicos, muito mais que 90%, não posso falar 100%, e outros serviços de médicos, propriamente dito, em número menor, que também quem realiza são não médicos. Como você faz essa aferição na sua região, no seu país, mas que fica próximo a San Diego e naquela região toda? Qual seria uma média de porcentagem de serviços que são realizados, que os transplantes são realizados por profissionais que não são médicos?
Whoa.
Polemic.
That's a very, very good question, because this is a problem that is not only happening here in Brazil, it's happening worldwide. Because in Mexico, the regulations are not very strict. So unfortunately, there's a lot of non-surgeons and technicians that they do the surgeries. The patient believes they're surgeons, okay? They don't check the credential, the number,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
as a physician. And that's the fault of the patient, to be honest. I mean, because these persons are not ethical. They can do whatever they want. They don't care if they're going to have complication and they're not going to be able to fix it. They leave the patient. They close the door. It
Yes.
happened that the patient go back to their practice and they say, no. this is
Not
not with
our
us.
business.
Not our business. But you did my surgery. No,
É.
because they can't
just
handle
did-
that.
We can't
Your
solve
surgery.
your problem, you
Now,
know?
yeah. Now, the
Now
problem
it's
is
yours.
Exactly.
It's your kid.
Exactly, and they
Live.
send them to us. So one very important thing is that the patient needs to take responsibility, and the patient needs to do their homework. A lot of doctors, I can tell you, in Mexico, at least 50 to 60% are illegal clinics. They don't have a license. They don't have a medical degree, and they're even not technicians. I mean, they're random persons that they think it's easy. And let's make it very clear. FUE is a surgery. I got amazed when I heard, oh, FUE is not a surgery.
Oh.
No.
It is a surgery. It's a
very
minimum
serious.
invasive procedure, but it is a surgery.
Yes.
And we need
With
to take it,
complications.
of course,
Yeah.
with everything that comes with it. So anesthesia problems,
Yes.
surgery problems, coagulation problems, bleeding problems, necrosis. So it is very important that we take very seriously that is a surgery, and that is why the surgeon with all the credentials is the one that needed to do first the personalized evaluation to see where we're going to place it. This is a good candidate or not a very good candidate. You mentioned people like they are not good, that they look better bald than with the surgery. It is true. It's true. But that is something that is in a conversation that we need to address that with the patient before putting our hands on top of them. And I think that we're so blessed to really be able, we're here, experts in the world, but learning from each other because there's new things and new things. And as much as we update ourselves, at the end, the only one that is going to receive the benefit will be our patients. They're going to have a transformation, a real transformation that is going to last forever.
Oh, doutora Sara,
Perfeito.
pra gente foi um prazer enorme ter você aqui conosco. É incrível, incrível ter todos esses conhecimentos. Eu acho que é de importantíssimo essa mensagem final, né, nossa aqui. É de
Maravilhosa.
fato para falar algo que a gente já quis trazer para o Brasil há um tempo, quando a gente começou esse podcast, que é propósito. A gente tem um propósito muito grande de trazer informação de qualidade com pessoas que são referências. Eu falo que eu tenho meus grandes mentores e hoje meus amigos que estão aqui, por sinal também, são as minhas inspirações. E trazer vocês, que já são pessoas que já nos inspiravam, né, de fora, é uma honra enorme. E eu quero passar isso para a audiência também, para que eles usam vocês como inspiração para aprender bastante. E mais uma vez, obrigado por tudo, viu?
Eu não vou estar. Obrigada a você. I think that this kind of podcast is going to change so many lives. And more than change, it's more than important than that, is going to save a lot of scalps, a lot of people that now they live in a shame because they did a wrong decision.
Yes.
They didn't do the research and that, and now they're living worse than they started at the beginning. So this podcast, I congratulate you because
Thank you so much.
this
Thank
is
you.
going to help so many people all around the world.
Yes.
Around the world.
Thank you so much.
Our purpose.
Pessoal de casa, mais uma vez queria agradecer vocês pela participação. Não deixe de seguir a gente aqui no YouTube e também lá no Instagram, @fue.cast. O meu pessoal, @dr Maurício Reis.
@dr.helioacioli.
Doutora Sara,
Doutora Sara.
tell to
Your
our
Instagram.
audience your Instagram and
Can
how
I
they
say
can...
for her?
Uh-huh.
Sara Salas Tovar.
Yes.
Sara Salas Tovar. E /haircenter.com.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
And they can be sure that I'm going to be the one giving them the face and
Nice.
giving them my promise that I am going to do everything that is in my hands to make them look amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. Gracias. Obrigado.
Thank you so much.
Cara, que legal.
O seu Instagram é só que
No
faltou.
Instagram, @dr.paulo Miorali.
Paulo Miorali.
Perfeito,
Acabou.
pessoal. Obrigado por tudo. Fiquem com Deus e até o próximo.
Cara, que legal.